What's up? In this video I'm going to show you how to create this old vintage VHS style camcorder effect. Let's go. So first up, what do we need if we want to shoot in this kind of old VHS vintage style if we don't have an old vintage VHS camera? I would advise you to take your oldest camera. That could be your old Sony camera, maybe it's an old DSLR that you used to shoot on, like an old Canon camera. Maybe it's something like an old Digicam, how do you say it in English? It's Digicam in Germany, because it has this automatic servo zoom, which is very common with old VHS footage. Or the best thing that you could use is, of course, a real camcorder. An old camcorder, this is not a VHS camcorder, because then this effect tutorial would be, of course, very weird. But it's an old digital camcorder. In fact, it was my first camcorder I used to shoot on back in the day. And here the great thing, of course, is not just that it has a lower resolution and kind of noisier image that is considered with VHS cameras, but you also have this nice automatic zoom. And it's just like already a pretty good thing to start with. Of course, not just the servo zoom is great for creating a VHS look, but also the handling and feel, this kind of jittery motion when you have a small camera just like this. So I'd advise you to shoot on something like this, preferably this. And now once we have the footage, let's hop onto the computer. So first up, maybe you don't need to do this step, but in my case, since I shot with this camcorder, my footage is in .avi. And you can't play that on your computer, at least not on your Mac, not with QuickTime Player and not with VLC Player, which normally can play everything. So first we need to convert that. For this, I use an app called Avi or AV to Any Pro, the Pro version. Not sponsored, but it's an amazing app. You can download it in the App Store, link down below. And here you can just select and drag and drop everything into this app, then select what you want to convert it into. I always just choose iPad 1080p for whatever reason. Then select which folder you want to save it in and just hit convert. Now, as you can see, it will convert every single video from AVI to a normal .mov. And the date is set to 2012, stuck in time. So now we're going to hop into Final Cut, which is the editing software of my choice, but you can of course also do this in Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, or probably any other editing software of your choice. In Final Cut, first, we're going to create a new event in our library. And here again, we have two choices. So either your whole project is in a 16:9 aspect ratio, which means if we're talking 4K, 3840 times 2160 pixels, or you're doing your entire project in 4:3. So if we want the entire project to be in a 4:3 aspect ratio and we want that to be in 4K, we have to go to custom down here and then type in 3840 times 2880 pixels. Turn that back to 24 frames, and then we can create the event. As you can see now, the entire project is in a 4:3 aspect ratio. However, I'm going to show you how to do it in 16:9 in a second. So now let's take our clip that we shot with our camcorder or whatever camera and put it into the timeline. There we go. Here is the clip from the beginning, from the intro in our timeline. But as you can see, it's 16:9 and we have black bars down below here and up here. How can we change that? Go to the video inspector and then go down here to spatial conform and change it from fit to fill, and there we go. Now it's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. Now before we go on with the effect, let's first take a look at how to do it with the 16:9 aspect ratio. If you don't care about that because you want to do it in the 4:3 aspect ratio and you just want to continue with the tutorial, skip to this time code. If you want to know how to do it in 16:9, just keep on watching. We're going to go up here to File, New, and then create a new event, which we're going to call the same, and just do it in a normal 16:9 project. Hit OK. We're gonna have to name it 69. Yes, it's a single point on purpose because you can't do a colon in here. Now hit OK. Now we import our clip again. And as you can see, of course, it's in a 16:9 composition. That looks flattering. So how can we convert it into a 4:3 aspect ratio? We have to use a 4:3 PNG overlay. Where do we get that? I provided you with a download link down below where you can download a 4:3 aspect ratio PNG overlay and even some others completely for free. So let's drag that onto our clip. There we go. That's the PNG. Just drag it over the entirety of our clip. And there we go. Now the aspect ratio is 4:3. And now we can continue with the effect itself because we have the same starting point for the 4:3 and for the 16:9 composition. Now for the effect, I'm going to use an adjustment layer. Now adjustment layers sadly don't come with Final Cut by themselves, but lucky for us, Ryan Nangle created some adjustment layers for Final Cut. They are also free, link down below, no affiliation though. If you don't want to download them, you can do the effect right on your clip right here, but it's always easier to just do it with an adjustment layer. So I'm going to drag the adjustment layer on top of our clip, shorten it to the length of our clip, and then drag the effects onto the adjustment layer, which, talking about the effects, the first one we're going to use is the TV effect. So type in TV, bad TV, drag it onto your adjustment layer, and there you can see already looks a bit like a VHS tape. And now when it comes to the fine-tuning adjustments, This of course comes down to your personal taste. You can maybe do a lot of grain and distortion if you want to do a really heavy found footage film, or maybe just do it for 1 or 2 frames to create some glitches. Of course, that would be a bit much for the entirety of the clip, so I'm going to reset it. For the static type, Gaussian noise film grain already looks pretty good, but for my personal taste, it's a bit too much of the grain, so I would go to TV, which gets rid of the noisy grain and kind of has this, you know, TV looking like noise, I guess. Now we can even go down to the roll and create a little roll like down below here or up here, because old vintage cameras sometimes had that, so it looks like this. And now again, it comes down to your personal preference and which camera you shot it with. For example, if you want to go real vintage and it's too sharp because of the digital sharpness in your example, you could go down to the effects tab and type in Gaussian Blur, drag it onto the adjustment layer or your clip. Then, very important, put the Gaussian Blur below the bad TV effects layer. And of course 50 is way too much, so maybe go down to 4, 3 or 4. Again, depending on your camera model, the shot and the result you're looking for. And now if we turn it off and on, we can see we took away a little bit of that digital sharpness. Well, probably on YouTube you can't see it. Maybe if I go up to 5, something like this. Now if you want to reintroduce some noise, you can of course go down to the effects tab and type in noise, and then add some noise on top of your clip. I would leave this one above the bad TV effect. Turn it to monochrome so it's not that colorful. And this one I wouldn't leave on TV static, but on Gaussian noise film grain. And now you can really dial in how much noise you want. Of course, not too much, just a little bit, some grain, maybe this amount. Now if we turn it off and on, we can see we introduced a little bit of grain. And now of course you don't have to leave it on a standard 4:3 aspect ratio. You can really stylize it to your liking. For example, you also have the option to put on the 4:3 aspect ratio PNG with some round edges like this. So I kind of already have a somewhat TV effect. This is of course inspired by the very famous and widely used overlay from Ezra Cohen, which is this one. The famous 4:3 overlay from the pack Dirty Letterboxes. This one has a white background and you have to turn it to multiply to get rid of the white solid in the middle. And then you can see we don't just have the round edges, but also some dirt, some grunge, some whatever on the sides. Kind of can't see the roll up here. So maybe let's go down to the adjustment layer and adjust it to maybe 3 or 4. A bit too much, maybe 2.5. But of course they will cost something, but of course you don't have to use them. But it's a great investment. Link down below, no affiliation. And then we have a result like this for some vintage VHS camera style footage. But that's it from this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and also consider subscribing right here for more videos just like this one. You can find more videos right here, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Goodbye.